Hope everybody's doing good today. So here we got a finished fender skirt. We also got this piece. This is for the 63 Coupe Deville. We've done all the bottoms of the doors, so this way we can put the doors on the car, run our metallic right across the whole side of the car. We still got to sand that. That's a little bit of overspray from where it sat on this guy here. And after that we got to sand and seal our hood. But everything else is pretty much ready to go. And here's a nice change. My two spots in this part of the shop are open, which is great. I'm gonna come in, do a major cleaning. Our hoist bay is empty. Got a gallon of the metallic red sitting in the paint shaker. Even if you're a hobbyist, go bug guys that have been long-term owners of old hardware stores. They might have some of this stuff sitting in the back. That one works pretty well. That one seems to shake a little better, but has an awful racket, so we're probably gonna have to rebuild bearings and stuff. But at any rate, they both work fine. I just like this one because it's quiet. So we'll let that shake for like 20 minutes. Things are stiff, so you don't have to worry about the gallon falling out. So we've talked before, when in the booth, about planning a paint job. So as you can see, the whole car is pretty much ready to go. The exception of the rear quarters here. When we do the rear quarters, we're going to seal them and then paint them. But we're going to paint basically the whole side of the car at once. So what I've got to do in order to get that done, we're going to come in, we're going to jam the car. We also, now I believe this is all hidden by chrome and whatnot, but we're going to paint that anyway because you want it protected. We don't have to be fussy, but we want it to be red. And then as you come out on the drip rail, which I believe is also all buried, you know, we'll start getting a little fussier. But in here, you want it to look nice when the doors are open. So once that's all on, we've already sealed this in a little bit past, so that should be good enough for a door jamb. So we'll paint that in. We'll come up and around, and the reason the roof is like this, we were lucky enough to have this belt line runs all the way across. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint the jambs. We're going to do our two coats, and that way we'll let, in case we blew up any dust from inside the car, we'll let that suction out for a little bit. We'll blow off our top, make sure it's clean, and then we're basically going to start at the back down here. We're going to come up the sail panels on both sides, across the back, and then we're going to catch our roof, bring it to the front. We'll come down the posts, and again, these posts completely buried in chrome. These still had the original gold from 1963, and the car had been painted at least twice. So the reason we're doing it this way is once this is done and dried, I'm going to reinstall the doors. We're going to put our foam J-tape in here, across the bottom and up the edge. And what I'll do, I'll actually bring the tape right against this corner so that our overspray comes in and hits it, and it'll suck it in. We'll make sure our base goes nice on the flat. We won't go too crazy to get it in, but when we do our clear, we'll make sure we pile a little bit in there so there's a nice overlap between the jam and the outside skin. Now the reason for doing this is metallic orientation. If there was ever a little bit of a deviance or something in the color or in the metallic, sometimes it can throw off. It'll make a door look different than a fender, essentially. So we're going to start up here. We're going to come from the inside here, clean that all up, make it red. And then we're basically going to come down the fender. With our doors installed, we can go right down the doors, right down the quarters, all in one shot. Right, and as we do the quarter, we can come to the back side of the fin. Then we're going to go across the package tray, down the back, and then down that side in reverse. And what that'll do is, if anything were to happen where it's not quite right somewhere, you're not really going to see it. And I'm probably being overly particular, but I think that's a good thing. If the color were to deviate from here to here, it wouldn't be that big a deal because this has this big chrome belt line that goes around it, and it's enough cut that you wouldn't notice it. However, we got our gaps pretty decent on this car, so from here to here, if you did the doors separate, and let's say something went wrong and you had to do a third coat, it could slightly darken or lighten it, or maybe you went a little quicker. You know, so you're not going to have it blended out. So you want it blended out, and this is why we're cutting it up. And I know I could have probably done the roof at the same time. I'm not a particularly fast painter, and what I don't want to do when it comes to the clear coat, because I could do the whole car in one shot with the metallic, no problem, but this is a base clear, and what I don't want to have happen when you do this and come over here, you don't want it to start drying here and then you come up over the roof, or reverse, you know, you paint this and it gets up here, you get blurs and dry spots. And with the fins, I think that you know, there's more of a possibility of that happening. And I mean, we've got a 9-foot quarter panel here, so 4-foot doors and then 5-foot fenders. This is a really big car. And one thing I've learned, I do a lot of Camaros and sometimes pickup trucks, but I got to tell you, this has been more work. Pickups cost more because there's a lot more pieces and they tend to be bigger, especially modern stuff, you know, with the 4 doors and whatnot. But this thing has sucked a lot of time into it. This is not something you can do real quick. Just the sheer size, you wouldn't think so, you know, like what's a few more feet or a few more inches here and there when you're blocking all the stuff you do. And I'm going to tell you, I've been watching the time, the hours and all that, and it adds up. It's a big car, and well, you guys who've done these know this already. So, like, you know, you got to charge more on something like this than you would on a Camaro, the same. But the reality is, and especially these days, you know, most of us are going by the hour, and it takes what it takes. Not too often you get quotes from me anymore. And a lot of guys in the industry where I live, we're in Ontario, Canada, prices go up and down, and, you know, they always favor up, right? So, you know, all we can do is material and hourly rate. Now, this car did have a budget where we had to stop, so there's things that we definitely didn't do. This was not all the way down to metal, except where the car was destroyed and bad. The roof was good, it was sound, so we weren't too worried about that. That being said, from here down has been down because that was all replaced. We got new steel in there. You can't really tell, which is exactly what you want. And then our quarter panels were rough, so we took a lot of that down. But, you know, this car was not a complete restoration, but it's all been primed and sealed and all the good stuff. So this car should hold up all right. And this is what the customer wants, and he, you know, it's up to the customer to decide what they want to do and how much they're going to spend. You know, some guys right off the hop say, well, let's go down to metal. And then when you throw numbers at them, they say no. And usually I just say, what's your budget? And then I tell them what we're going to do, or what we can afford to do. But that's no longer the case. As things move forward, you know, this is becoming a very expensive hobby. And you got to make money, otherwise you work yourself to death not making enough. But like I say, would it be faster if we painted the whole car? Well, it would be, but sometimes you just kind of eat a little bit of the budget. You lose a little bit maybe, and we're still going to do okay. But this is the way to do it to make sure that we have the best outcome, which is what we're hoping to do. Anyway, that's the update for today. Yeah, it's going to be a nice looking car. It is very, very straight. At least we believe it to be very straight. It's been blocked and blocked and reblocked. There's a lot of hours in the car. And so we went in here ahead of time with some of that sealer, and we kind of blacked it out. This all gets covered. We're going to paint this edge, but just in case you can see something in there. But I'm pretty sure that gets completely covered. And there's the covers that go here and block this all out. So we're going to try to come over this edge with the red, just so when we put our cover pieces in here, they kind of, I'll show you what that looks like actually. But I just thought if you look in through there, you don't want to see like a light primer gray, because it'll look like, why is there white in there? So we just kind of blacked that out. So a lot of cars don't have this. This might be, whoop, wrong way here. Might be a Cadillac thing. So you got these that they're like fillers that go in the hole. So that bottom sits right above the bottom hinge. Here's where the big rubber thing with all your wiring comes, and here's where your hinge goes. They even extend this plate here so that you know, we don't want to look through there and see light gray. So that's why we blacked that out on the car. So just little things like that. You know, you got a nice red. There's some metallic in it. Let's take that out to the sun. And I mean, these aren't perfect, but they're pretty nice. We won't cut and buff these. Hopefully we don't have to cut and buff the car, but we may. There's a little bit of dust on there, but just so you can get an idea. I'll have to check out the video before I upload it. I hope that's showing off what we want it to. It almost looks like a metallic candy apple, so that's going to be a sharp looking car. And it's a little bit on the bloody dark side. But yeah, it's going to be a nice color. I think the customer should have opted to do a like a 2-coat pearl, like not necessarily a tri-coat, but we could have definitely went with a pearl white on the roof. And I would have done just a 2-stage, no base coat, clear coat, with like a white, you know, it's not true pearl, but there's some pearl colors where they do a little bit of pearlescent metallic in the white. That's what I think we should have done on the top, because I think this is a really big car and the red might be a lot, but it is a nice dark red. And because there's so much chrome, and I got to see one in black recently, and wow, it was pretty stunning. So I think we're gonna pull it off. I think it's gonna look great. At any rate, the owner wants it that way, so that's what we got to do. Thanks for watching. Cheers.